They miss you when your absence exposes their own emptiness. At first, they may not even notice you're gone. Life keeps moving, distractions are plenty, and ego keeps them feeling like they're fine without you. But slowly, the silence starts to creep in. The calls they used to ignore are no longer coming. The comfort they used to take for granted is no longer available. The laughter you brought to their dull days has disappeared. That's when the emptiness begins to speak louder than their pride ever did. You see, some people get so used to your presence, they treat it like air, always there, always available, always forgiving. But when you finally step away, when you stop overgiving, when you start focusing on your own healing, something shifts. That space you once filled begins to echo. The same space they thought they could live without suddenly becomes too big, too cold, too quiet. They miss the way you showed up, how you listened without judgment, how you supported them without needing anything in return. They miss the way you made them feel seen in a world that often overlooks them. But most of all, they miss the way you made them feel whole, because truth be told, they were never complete on their own. They leaned on your light, they lived off your energy, and they counted on your strength to carry them through their storms. And now, your absence shines a mirror on what they lack. That's the kind of realization that doesn't hit all at once. It builds slowly, through lonely nights, through unreturned messages from people they thought would replace you, through moments when they need understanding, and all they find is surface-level comfort. Suddenly, they remember the late-night talks, the check-in texts, the way you'd sense their pain without them saying a word. They remember the sacrifices you made without ever complaining, the times you showed up even when it cost you something. Those memories aren't just nostalgic, they're haunting, because now they have to face the truth. They had something rare and they lost it, not because you left to punish them, but because you finally learned your worth. Now they sit in their own silence, trying to convince themselves they're fine, but deep down they know they pushed away someone who genuinely cared. They know they chose their ego over connection, pride over peace. And that knowing, that's what creates the emptiness. It's not just that you're gone, it's that no one else measures up. No one brings the same warmth, the same realness, the same love. They miss you because their life was better when you were in it. And now, without you, they're not just missing a person, they're missing the version of themselves that only came alive when they were with you. That kind of emptiness doesn't go away, it lingers, it whispers, it reminds them every day of what they let slip through their hands. They miss you when your growth outpaces their comfort zone. At first, they don't see it as a loss. They see it as a shift. Maybe you started talking differently, dreaming bigger, thinking deeper. You stopped participating in the same complaints, the same excuses, the same cycles that kept you both stuck. What they once called change, they now recognize as elevation, and that scares them. Not because you did anything wrong, but because your progress highlights their stagnation. They were comfortable when you were at their level. You validated their habits, mirrored their mindset, shared their doubts. But when you started reading more, healing more, working more, something changed. You began rising, and with every step forward, it challenged their sense of identity. You became a reflection they couldn't look at without feeling exposed. They didn't know how to deal with the new you, the one who set boundaries, the one who said no, the one who wanted more out of life than just getting by. Your growth became uncomfortable for them because it required them to confront their own limitations. And not everyone is ready to face that. It's easier to pull you back than to push themselves forward, so they distanced themselves, made passive comments, said you were acting different. They may have even laughed at your goals, doubted your direction, or tried to guilt you for outgrowing the old bond. But deep down, they knew the truth you were evolving, and they weren't. They miss you because your presence once made them feel secure. But now your evolution makes them feel left behind. They miss the comfort of having you beside them in the same place, with the same thinking. They miss the version of you that didn't challenge the norm. But that version no longer exists, and that's what truly unsettles them. Your ambition forced them to acknowledge their fear. Your progress highlighted their procrastination. Your glow made them question why they're still dimming theirs. Now they scroll through your wins, hear your name in rooms you used to only dream about, and realize they're no longer part of your journey. They remember the days you used to ask for their advice, lean on their approval, crave their validation. But that need is gone now. You're building, creating, rising. And it's not out of arrogance, it's out of necessity. You stopped living small so others could feel big. They miss you, not because they don't have people around, but because the people around them don't inspire growth. They miss the spark, the motivation, the reflection of what's possible. And while they may never say it out loud, they feel it in every moment they see you thriving without them, becoming everything they once feared and secretly admired. They miss you when they see you shining without their support. At first, they assumed you wouldn't make it without them. Maybe they thought their absence would break you, slow you down, or leave you questioning your worth. They expected you to fall, to reach back out, to beg for their presence again. But instead, you surprised them. You didn't just survive, you started to shine. You rose from the silence, you turned pain into purpose, and you began walking with a kind of confidence that didn't rely on their validation. In their mind, they had more control over your spirit than they actually did. They thought their support, or lack of it, defined your strength. But when they stepped away or tried to withhold love, they didn't realize they were just giving you the space to grow. What they saw as distance, you turned into discovery. You found your power in the quiet. You found clarity in the solitude. And when you stopped waiting for someone to believe in you, you began to believe in yourself. Now they see the results. They see the light in your eyes, the peace in your voice, the purpose in your steps. They see you building something out of nothing, creating a life that no longer has a spot for them. That's what really gets them. Not just that you're happy, but that you found that happiness without needing them to provide it. It shakes their pride. It flips their ego upside down, because people who think you needed them often can't handle the reality that you never did. They scroll through your posts, hear your name mentioned, or see you stepping into rooms they once said you'd never reach. And in those moments, they feel it. Not just a sense of loss, but a deep ache that whispers, you're no longer part of this. They remember the chances you gave, the grace you extended, the loyalty you offered. But more than that, they remember how they didn't show up for you when it mattered. They remember how they turned their back when all you needed was a little encouragement, and now all they can do is watch from a distance. They miss the version of you that leaned on them, the one who shared every dream, every doubt, every decision. But that version is gone. In its place is someone who learned how to stand alone, someone who stopped waiting to be chosen and chose themselves. And that kind of shine, that's the kind they can't ignore. That's the kind that lights up a room and leaves them wondering why they ever let you go. It's not just your success that stings them, it's the fact that they're no longer connected to it. You became the person they never imagined you'd be without them, and that realization, that's when the missing truly begins. They miss you when they realize they took your loyalty for granted. In the beginning, they thought you'd always be there. You showed up for them without being asked. You defended them when they weren't in the room. You forgave what others would have walked away from. Your loyalty wasn't just something you said, it was something you lived. But the problem is, people often mistake consistency for weakness. They assume that the person who stays will never leave. They test your patience, push your boundaries, and still expect you to show up like you always do. You gave without keeping score. You stayed when it would have been easier to walk away. You chose them time and time again, even when they made you feel like an option, and they got used to it. They got used to your apologies, your grace, your understanding. But what they didn't realize is that even the most loyal heart has limits. Even the most giving soul can get tired, and when you finally pulled away, not in anger, but in quiet exhaustion, that's when it started to hit them. They began to notice your absence in moments they never expected, when they had good news and didn't have you to share it with, when life got hard and you weren't there to talk them through it, when things fell apart and the person who always had their back was nowhere to be found. That's when the memories came rushing in. The way you always picked up the phone, even when you were tired. The way you stood by them when everyone else left. The way you loved them, even when they didn't love themselves. They missed the safety they felt around you, the kind of safety that doesn't come from words but from presence, from knowing that no matter what happened, you'd show up. You were a constant in their chaos, and now that you're gone, the void is undeniable. They start to replay the moments they dismissed your feelings, the times they chose pride over appreciation, the times they made you feel invisible. And suddenly, they realized they weren't just losing someone who loved them. They were losing someone who never gave up on them. Regret is a loud teacher. It screams in the silence where your voice used to be. It echoes in the spaces you used to fill with love, patience, and presence. And the weight of that regret grows heavier with every day that passes without you. They might not say it out loud. They might pretend they're fine, but deep down they know they broke something that may never be repaired. They know they let go of someone who only ever wanted to see them win. And that truth follows them not just in moments of weakness, but in every moment they need the kind of loyalty they once had and realize it's no longer there. They miss you when life hits them and you're not there to soften the blow. When everything was going wrong, you were the one who made things feel a little less heavy. You were the safe place, the calm in their storm, the voice that reminded them they were strong enough to survive whatever they were facing. But they didn't always see that in the moment. When people are used to being rescued, they stop recognizing the value of the person doing the saving. They start to believe that your comfort is guaranteed, your presence is permanent, your love is limitless. But life has a way of teaching people what they couldn't see before. At first, they thought they were fine without you. Maybe they walked away. Maybe they pushed you away. Maybe they just assumed you'd always come back, no matter how far they drifted. But life doesn't care about pride or ego. Life hits hard, and when it does, it exposes who really mattered. Suddenly, the people they thought would be there are nowhere to be found. The ones they replaced you with don't show up with the same heart, the same patience, the same understanding. That's when reality sets in. That's when the weight gets heavier. They begin to miss the way you used to listen, not just with your ears, but with your heart. The way you used to offer advice without judgment. The way you used to sit with them in their mess and never make them feel small for being human. You didn't just help them through things. You carried some of the weight for them. You stayed up late when they couldn't sleep. You made them laugh when they wanted to cry. You reminded them of who they were when they forgot. And now that life has shown up with its storms, loss, disappointment, heartbreak, failure, they're left looking around for the one person who always caught them before they hit the ground. But you're not there. You've stopped answering the late night texts. You've stopped checking in. You've stopped rescuing someone who never truly appreciated how many times you saved them from drowning. Not out of spite, but because you finally realized that being their lifeline was costing you your own peace. That's when the missing becomes real, when the pain hits and they reach for comfort, only to find silence. When they wish they had just one more conversation, one more moment to feel seen and understood. They miss you not because they suddenly became better people, but because they finally understand that not everyone who stands by you in your darkest hours does it out of obligation. Some do it out of love, some do it because they care deeply, and when those people are gone, no substitute can take their place. The comfort you gave wasn't just in your words, it was in your presence. And without it, the pain hits harder, the nights feel longer, and the loneliness cuts deeper. They miss you when they finally see the difference between real and temporary. For a while, they were caught up in the excitement of what was new. The shiny friendships, the easy attention, the surface-level conversations that didn't demand much depth. It felt fun, effortless, and light. And in that comfort, they forgot the value of something real. They forgot the weight of someone who showed up when it wasn't convenient, someone who stayed even when things got uncomfortable. You were real. Your intentions were pure. You didn't just care when it was easy. You cared when it was hard. You gave without keeping score, you loved without playing games, and you stood firm when everything around them was shaky. But real is often unappreciated until fake has done its damage. Temporary people come in loud and leave quietly. They show up with charm but no commitment. They're present when things are good but disappear the moment things get heavy, and that's what they eventually start to notice. The same people they chose over you don't answer the phone at 2 a.m. They don't stick around through the chaos. They don't listen to the silence behind the "I'm fine." One by one, the illusions fade, and all that's left is the truth they tried to ignore. Eel isn't common, and not everyone who smiles at you has the intention to stay. They begin to replay the way you made them feel safe without asking for anything in return. The way you remembered the little details, how you stood by them when their world was falling apart, how you saw them in their worst and never flinched. That kind of connection doesn't come often, and it doesn't come easy. It's built through consistency, sacrifice, and genuine care. You weren't there for the image, you were there for the soul, and now, with the noise gone and the crowd thinning out, that absence is louder than ever. They thought they could replace depth with distractions. They thought temporary people could fill the space you left behind, but now they realize what's real doesn't chase attention, and what's temporary can never offer the kind of peace you brought. You didn't just show up, you poured into them, and when they finally stop running from their own emptiness, they start to feel it. The conversations don't hit the same. The presence around them doesn't feel as comforting. There's a difference between being surrounded and being supported, and they're finally seeing it for what it is. They miss you not just because you're gone, but because everything they tried to replace you with has fallen short. You were the one who stayed solid when everything else was fragile. You were the foundation they didn't think they needed, until the house started to crumble. And now, with the distractions gone and the truth standing tall, they finally understand the cost of mistaking real for temporary. And it's a cost they carry every time they reach for what they had with you and find only echoes.